about cybersecurity is it's about technology. No, it's about the people. So the common theme here is that somebody posts something online and then somebody just leverages that for a phishing email or phishing calls. So the people who are getting those calls or emails, they just think, okay, it seems like it's a legit communication, and they fall victims to that.
If I got my admin access, what can they do with it?
They can do anything. They own you. You can reduce the risk. You can train people. Then that will be the simple way to avoid being attacked.
Gaidar, to kick things off, tell me a myth about cybersecurity that people always get wrong or misunderstand. Why do you think this myth is so popular?
Most people, they watch movies about hackers. And in the movies, somebody opens some scary looking terminal, type a lot of stuff and hacks. That's the myth, because most hackers, they don't even write code or don't really do any kind of hacking. All they do is just leverage the information that's available about you to trick you into doing stuff for them. So I guess the best myth about cybersecurity is it's about technology. No, it's about people.
That's true. I heartily agree with that. It's all about people. Before we dig into it though, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Gaidar. I'm a president at Acronis. I'm responsible currently for marketing, education, sales enablement, a bunch of other things. But I've been with the company for 12 years doing different things, from sales to customer support and professional services. And before that, I've been working for a venture capital firm. Before that, I've been working for Microsoft. And before that, I was a scientist and a software engineer on the side. So I had a diverse background. And related to cybersecurity topic, though, I would just remember one story on how I was introduced to cybersecurity. It was like back in the day when I was just building websites, and then I realized that people are trying to hack them by trying to input different garbage into the text fields and try to do like SQL injection or something like that. And that was exciting to learn that a lot of people do automation to do it. So they write scripts that just constantly ping your websites. And you have to think about how do you protect against that? How do you treat the input and stuff like that? It was exciting at a time. And then I learned a lot on the ways that you can hack into any kind of systems. And it's a whole new world. When you think about it, there are very few ways on how you can build stuff, but there are so many ways how you can break stuff. So that's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. So speaking of hacking though, can you give us an example, a real life example, obviously without giving away names, as to cybersecurity hacks that you've come across in your time at Acronis or in the past?
I would say I would give a theme here, because I'm hearing about it all the time and we see a lot of this, and it's related to what I mentioned before. It's not about the technology, it's about the people. So the common theme here is that somebody posts something online and discloses some information about the company, about the deal they're trying to make, or vendors that they use, or technology they're trying to implement, or something about their team or their boss, anything. And then somebody just leverages that for a phishing email or phishing calls, when they just use that information and reach out to people and tell them, hey, you're working on this and this. So the people who are getting those calls or emails, they just think, okay, it seems like it's a legit communication, and they fall victims to that. And it happens all the time. And you just cannot imagine what kind of information can be leveraged right now. Given that attackers can use AI, they can consume enormous amount of information. They can collect data from your social media feeds, and then they cross-check and then just combine like information from different feeds. So you can be posting to LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, X. And they will just get some information, useful information about your travel. I can give you an anecdote. Like one day I was traveling from Boston to Zurich. And I'm arriving to Zurich airport, and I'm getting a text message from AT&T saying that my account is blocked. I need to unblock it. And for that, they need to call me and get 4 last digits of my social security number. And I was like, it's weird. And then they actually called me with a number that looked like AT&T, and it looks like a robot that is usual for AT&T, and they were asking me all those strange questions, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to give them that information. So I hang up and just called AT&T customer service, and turned out to be that they never knew that my account is locked or something happened. But imagine, so those guys who tried to get my personal information, they knew that I'm traveling, they knew where I am, they knew my provider, and they actually knew a lot of information about me because it was disclosed in one of the hacks of credit bureaus in the US. So they had my previous addresses and a bunch of other things. So it was very relevant to what was going on. And I could imagine that I could easily be a victim if it would be slightly more sophisticated or be a bit more tired. And that happens all the time. So almost on a daily basis, I read about those type of attacks, or I hear something, or our threat research unit is exploring something about those type of attacks where you post something that seems like really innocent. You go to some place to meet the potential vendor that will be providing some services to you, and then somebody just uses that information to pretend to be that vendor, or to reroute your emails, to send you fake invoices, or whatever. Like, there are so many things that can be done about it, and it happens automatically. Thanks to AI, or no thanks to AI, you can do a lot of things without even thinking about it, and you can attack as many companies or individuals as you want, because you're not limited by anything but just...
What is it that the hackers, once they've gathered your information, what can they do with it?
Oh, so there are lots of things. The easiest thing to leverage any information about you is try to trick you to do some action. Simple thing, to pretend to be somebody else and ask you for anything. Like, I can give you a great example of some creative attacks. Imagine you are a customer of a managed service provider, and something goes wrong, and you want to reach out to them. You know what people do? Sometimes they just don't call the number that they have. They just type in Google the name. The Google shows them the link. They click on the link, find the number, and call. There was actually an attack, and I guess not once, where attackers actually created a fake website and put ads for that website. So you look for the name, and the first search result will be actually a paid result. Leads to that website with a phone number that you call, and you get to some kind of strange company. And the first thing they will ask you is to provide your admin credentials. So imagine how sophisticated it is. Of course, in those cases, it is complicated.
If they got my admin access, what can they do with it?
They can do anything. They own you. They can remotely connect to your systems and do lots of crazy things. And that's exactly what happens in like major hacks. I think the most popular was an attack on a casino in Las Vegas, where that's exactly what happened. Somebody provided the admin credentials to an attacker, and then attacker just used it to deploy ransomware. So they stole data, and then they deployed ransomware, and they demand ransom for that. But it's just one example, and it's a bit more sophisticated. But if you think about mass-scale attacks, any information can be leveraged for anything, as long as I can use that information to send you an email that seems credible, to which you would respond with any additional information. And sometimes you just need to explore enough of entry points. So you know the organizational structure of the company, you know the vendors, you know the locations. You keep accumulating that information, then you can use that to do a particular attack on somebody. Like, you call the CFO of the company, and you provide so much details that guy or a lady wouldn't even think that it's not a legitimate request. One of the popular ways to steal money was, and still is, to send you an invoice with incorrect bank details. So you get an invoice from your vendor, the amount matches what you're supposed to pay. And then you have some bank information, some bank in Hong Kong, and it's your invoice, you pay it, and then money's gone. And to do that, it's relatively easy, because a lot of companies, when they process invoices, the people processing invoices will be somebody in finance. They don't really know a lot of details. They receive something that looks legitimate, and they just act on it, especially if the amounts are small. There's a common misconception that cyber criminals are going after huge wins. They're trying to get millions or at least hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's not true. Average ransom payment is as low as like $2,000, maybe even less, because most of the victims of ransomware attacks are small businesses. You just don't hear about it because it's not interesting. Media is not covering it. Media wants to talk about millions of dollars paid by a major bank or healthcare provider, but in reality, there are so many little tiny attacks happening, and they're happening at scale because, again, you have AI, you have automation scripts, you have a template that you can apply to anybody. And my favorite example here would be we have a partner in Greece, and Greece is a relatively small country. And there's just one of the MSSPs in Greece, and in 2 years, they had 1,100 ransom negotiations for small businesses. Imagine it's more than once a day. And it's one of the small MSSPs in a relatively small country, and they all deal with the SMBs. And that happens everywhere. It just, people don't usually talk about it. And a lot of people have this misconception that if something happened to them once, it will not happen again. It may happen again and again. And then another misconception is that the worst thing that can happen to you if you get ransomware, if that's even the word, is that you'll pay, you'll recover your data, and then you create a backup, and then you'll be fine. But the thing is, there is a chance that you pay and you will not get your data back because they may not be able to decrypt it. So it is a tricky situation if you get there, so it's better not to be in a state where you have to pay.
We've spoken about all the scary stuff and what can happen to us and the great examples there, and I can definitely vouch for that because I think about it might have been about a year ago now. I was driving. I was in a rush to get somewhere. I got a phone call. I didn't look at the number because I'm in my car. I answered, and the sound, the music of my bank played, and then some guy came on as he was a representative. It wasn't a foreigner, so it was very hard to tell, just saying that there was an overdraft on my account. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll sort it out when I get back. And then he said, oh, no, I can help you now. And that's when I clicked. I thought, no, they can't help me now. He had obviously got some information because it's spinning off numbers about me. But yeah, that's definitely true. It's that simple. And I almost fell for it. And I realized and I hung up. But I guess the question is, what can a business, whether they're small or not, what can they actually do to minimize the risk?
So I would say on the personal level, when you're an employee of a business, or even like a private individual, before you post anything anywhere, you have to think what you do. I would give one great advice to those people who like to travel and like to share their pictures with their passports and their tickets, how they board the plane and whatever. So if you have a boarding pass that has your confirmation number on it and your last name, somebody can just log in and cancel your reservation or whatever, right? Or change your seat. Like, it's that easy. And people just take pictures without thinking about it. So imagine you just fly somewhere and then on the way back, you cannot actually get to your flight because it was canceled because somebody just used that confirmation number. So it's easy as that. So for individuals, they have to think what they post. But then when you think about the business, what can business do is security awareness training. It's super simple. You have to constantly remind people about attacks, about what can happen. The best way to involve people into understanding what security is to teach them and then do some kind of a simulation. For instance, you can do some kind of a ransomware simulation, a phishing simulation, just to get people to understand how it feels and what it can be. One good thing to do is to set up a program where everybody in the company has to go through some recurrent cybersecurity training, just to remind them about phishing emails, about how they shouldn't download and install stuff, or how they should verify the URL when they go to a website, and then run some kind of a simulation, like a simple email trying to trick people. And if they fell victims for that, you can just do additional training for them. That is why in Acronis we had in our product, we have the integrated cybersecurity awareness training, because the people will always be the weakest link in security. And from 80 to 90% of all attacks are happening just because somebody did something that they're not supposed to do. So it goes through email. Somebody sends you an email, you download something, you go to a website, you provide some information somewhere. It's all there. And it's very easy to become complacent when nothing happens for a long time. And I'll tell another story that I absolutely love, is that a lot of those phishing attackers, they use a very interesting technique. They will send you a lot of crappy spam emails, that kind of phishing emails, but it's obviously phishing. So you open an email, you see there are mistakes, the template is wrong. So you train your brain, your neural network in your head, that the phishing email looks like crap. And then after a while, they will send you a perfectly formatted email with no mistakes that look legitimate. And you will just not think that it is a phishing email, and you will fall victim to that. And I can tell you, at least from the statistics that I'm getting from a bunch of vendors that are doing those simulations, that there are always a certain percentage of people in every organization that will fall victims for that. Always. And there's it's unavoidable, but you can reduce the risk. You can train people that if somebody's asking them some weird questions or something they're not supposed to provide, or it's just unusual, you can just hang up, or you can stop responding, or you can call the vendor, or whatever is necessary to really understand that you're talking to the right person. Then that will be the simple way to avoid being attacked. So that's that easy. The training, simulation, and rinse and repeat.
So what we're saying is effectively you need to be aware by training your staff. Don't personally share as much information as possible about yourself, because it's easy for hackers to grab that information. And there's obviously a big psychological part to this, where these hackers are almost training you in one way and then hitting you on the other end. So it's a never-ending story. Gaidar, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I want to also say personally, as someone who knows your brand, thank you for everything you guys do. Thank you for everything you do to push partners to be better and to help us to be better. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you.